Hi students, I'm Miss Hazel Rigg and I'm going to give you a little orientation video to help you get started this week. So I'm going to take my camera off so you can see the full screen. And what I have right in front of me on the screen right now is your view when you first log into the class. So you won't see a whole lot, okay? You're going to see some tabs up here, okay? And then the content will always be here in what we call modules and folders. Okay, so this is a module, this is a folder, and I'll touch on these in just a second. But let me draw your attention to the top. These tabs have different functions. We do have a calendar, which shows different, you can kind of see when things are due. It does link to your assignments in the calendar. So you can use your calendar for different things. You can also go to announcements. I don't have any yet because I haven't sent anything out yet. But they will appear here, but they will also appear when you log in. You'll see pop-ups that remind you to click on the announcements, and they get sent to your CBC email. So make sure you check there as well. So you have no excuse to not stay up to date because announcements are pretty much in your face every time you log into the class. Discussions, we will have, this is one type of assignment we'll do, and it has its own separate tab, but you can usually also find them under content, okay? Gradebook, of course, is where your grades will pop up and where you can check for feedback. Messages, this is my preferred means of contact from students. Whether you're face-to-face or if you're my fully online student, it helps me kind of keep everybody organized and helps me learn which class you're in. So I do prefer the Blackboard messages. However, I also have CBC email, and I will answer should you send emails to my CBC email. If you do that, just make sure you tell me which class you're in, as that is a great help. Okay, so for this week, all you have is we're doing housekeeping work and making sure you get comfortable and familiar with just the general expectations of the course. So these will include, like, what are the course outcomes, what are the expectations, what kind of learning tools we're going to be using, and then of course a little bit of a connecting with your peers and instructor. So think of this as basically your first week of assignments, okay? Because there are a few tasks that you do need to do, so I'm still going to call them assignments even though they're not very big type of assignments. Now your module is set to like a forced completion, and what that looks like, now you might on your end you might see like a blue start here. I don't see that on mine, but usually there's like a little blue start here, and then you pop it open and it looks like everything's locked because what it's doing is it's forcing you to click here. So you have to, where it says start here, you have to click on it to open. And then once you do that, and you kind of make sure you go through, there's just a little welcome video for me, and you go through and you kind of read it, and you can hit on next, and that'll take you to the next. But if you X out, which you can also do, see how it puts a little green check mark. So once you get that green check mark, then you can go on to the next thing, and so on. And so it's kind of just forcing you to go through the course content in a certain way, so you don't miss anything. It kind of helps keep you on track, and you can always pop back in and see where you left off or where you need to come back in, what you've done, what you haven't done. So it can be very helpful in that way. Okay, so you should have, once you are clicking into these, you have several things here. I'm actually going to exit out and go into my instructor view, which is kind of similar because I don't want to have to unlock everything. That will take too long. So I'm going to be in my instructor view, which looks similar but a little bit different. And so you do have a lot of the links. Don't get overwhelmed. It looks like a lot, but it's really just content broken down into small chunks. So just take it one page at a time. And a lot of it is reading and just getting familiar with, like I said, the course expectations. There are some things in here about me, so you can look at that. There are also, oh, there goes my alarm. You can also see the course overview, okay, which has information. Every page has different information about the course, so do make sure you kind of look at that. Course schedule, which of course is important, and I kind of set the schedule up in the way that I organize the course, which is around the different projects that we do. So you'll see mostly deadlines for the major projects, but we will have assignments, kind of like, I call them daily assignments, weekly assignments, your homework assignments essentially, that you will have every week to help build you towards that knowledge and that skill set you need for those larger assignments. So in other words, we'll kind of work our way there. And the other thing to remember about the schedule is that, let me click back on it, and the note is here, but it is tentative and it could change. And if there are any changes, then I would notify you of those, of course, in advance through announcements. So just always, that's another reason to pay attention to your announcements. Now you will have master course syllabi for 2 different courses in here. I have one for the 1301 and one for the co-requisite course, which we'll talk about, which is NCBW 0112. Okay, so I put a little note here because the book information is not updated on this yet. This is the one on the CBC website. So don't worry, I linked it here because I'm required to link it here, but you don't need to get any materials, because everything's going to be linked in your Blackboard shell, because we use open educational resources, which are free. Okay, so you'll have links to your materials, so there's really nothing that you need to get. But I did want to mention that if you open this master syllabus and look at it, the content is not updated under the books part. Okay. Now, you do have also the master course syllabus for NCBW 0112. This is our support course. Now, I have a whole lot of information about that here that you can read, but in a nutshell, it's going to be, since of course this is an online course, your support is going to come through a couple different ways. It's going to come in through what I call support checks and just some really brief progress journal entries that you'll be doing. So I will guide you and help set you up with all of that information. You don't need to worry about starting that this week. I will send out information about that when we're ready to get going. Starting week 2, you'll have something about the NCBW in there, okay? So all the details are here for you to read, and of course, if you have any questions about it, please let me know. And the master course syllabus is here for the NCBW. Now you also have a separate Blackboard shell for the NCBW, but don't stress on that. You won't need to get in it because the only thing I really house there is the grades that I report, okay? But I'm required to have it open for you. There might be some real basic information, same information that's in here about NCBW and what it is and how it works. That will also be in that course shell. But you won't need to do any assignments. You won't need to go in there for anything other than possibly checking your grade. And you probably won't even need to check your grade, because if you have a D or better in 1301, that means you're passing NCBW. So that's kind of how you know how you're doing in the support course. And again, I will probably send out something more specific related to the NCBW. The course materials, as I mentioned, are OER, Open Educational Resources. I have linked to the book here, and I will also link to it in a couple other places, and I will link to it whenever I assign readings. So for example, if I assign chapter 1 reading, I will link to it in the assignment content. So you will always have access to your materials where you are supposed to, have them in your content page. There is a section on technology requirements and expectations. I have a shorter version in my syllabus, which I'll go into, but I like to be thorough, and so anything you have questions about related to the technology is located in this link. Okay. You have institutional attendance conduct, academic policies, and ADA statement. This is linked from the college, so you may look at that. And then you have a few, then we get to the tasks. You have a syllabus agreement. How this assignment works is very easy. You just read through it and then you sign your name and it is submitted. It is graded, but it's just graded as a completion grade. So if you do it, you get points, easy breezy. I also have a syllabus scavenger hunt quiz, okay, that you're doing. So that you get 2 attempts, and so you probably want to make sure you read the instructor syllabus, which I haven't touched on yet. And you can have that open, it's open book, and it's not timed, and you have 2 attempts. Because we just want you to find the answers so you know the content, and it helps kind of point you to important information, and which is, I think, very helpful. And you also have a tech check survey that you can do. Again, this is just a participation completion grade. I'm just asking a few questions, just trying to get a feel for, you know, how you're doing with the technology stuff. And you have an introduce yourself photo collage and discussion. Now, I have submitted my own post here as a model, so you can see mine. I like to write, so of course, you know, I have a few paragraphs there, but, and I made a little collage there that you can look at. And I have instructions for how to do it, but if you end up with any questions or need more help with it, I'm happy to guide you. And then you have a course introduction wrap-up page. So those are the things you need to read and complete for the week. I'm going to back up. I saved this for the last just to kind of show you, but this is very important. You have a master course syllabus. That's just the generic kind of basic information about a course that's on our CBC website. This is the instructors. This is all the need to know, like what's your late policy and, you know, your attendance policy and all of those type of things. And I make mine a live document through Canva, so it's linked here like this. Now you can navigate this a couple different ways. If you don't like seeing it like this, you can navigate it easily, or you can pop this open in a full screen. Okay, but and so it's just broken down into different pages. You can also click on these when you open it up into the full and just jump to the different places. Okay. So make sure that you look through this. This is what I'm asking you questions on for the quiz, and you'll have that. And again, some of this information is repeated throughout the, in some of the other areas. This will be an important one, right? Your grades and the grade breakdown of the assignments, some information about assignments here, and of course, like I said, things that related to attendance. Oh, this thing's kind of bugging me today. That might be a good reason to kind of open it up. So you can just click through it and kind of get some information. So you should be able to navigate easily. But again, if you don't like it embedded here, you can pop this open. It disappears when you move the mouse, so you just got to get used to that a little bit, okay? So I hope this helps you kind of get a feel of what's expected this week, and that you will be able to find your way through. Just take it one item at a time when you get there. And if you have any questions or need help, y'all, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm looking forward to working with y'all this semester. Take care and have a great first week.